What if the most beautiful wedding is not held in a luxurious hotel, but in the simple place where two hearts learn to love? After years of hardship, sacrifice, and staying beside each other through difficult seasons, the young officer and Hao finally celebrated their real-life wedding at the peaceful farm they cherished. Surrounded by family, friends, flowers, and warm countryside memories, they exchanged heartfelt vows and wedding rings. Tears flowed as they promised to walk together through every joy and challenge. As the sun set over the farm, their wedding became more than a celebration, it became the beginning of a lifetime together. Part 1. A wedding day filled with love at the farm. After years of hardships, quiet sacrifices, and countless moments when they had to hold on to each other, the day they had dreamed about finally arrived. The young officer and Hao were going to become husband and wife. Yet, instead of choosing a luxurious hotel or an expensive wedding hall, they made a deeply meaningful decision. They would celebrate their wedding at the farm, the simple, peaceful place that had witnessed their love growing stronger day by day. For them, the farm was more than a piece of land. It was where they had shared their first smiles, worked side by side, faced difficult days, and slowly built hopes for a better future. As the wedding morning arrived, the familiar farm seemed to transform into something magical. Soft white flowers were placed along the small garden path, while simple strings of warm lights hung between the trees. Wooden tables and chairs were carefully arranged beneath the shade of the old trees. Nothing was extravagant, yet everything felt sincere. Family members, close friends, and neighbors began arriving early, bringing homemade dishes, flowers, gifts, and, most importantly, their heartfelt blessings. There was laughter everywhere, but beneath that happiness was a quiet sense of emotion. Everyone knew how much this day meant to the couple. Hao spent the morning preparing quietly inside the little house. When she finally stepped outside wearing her wedding dress, the entire atmosphere seemed to pause for a moment. Her dress was simple and elegant, without unnecessary decoration, but her gentle smile made her look more beautiful than ever. She slowly walked along the familiar garden path, surrounded by flowers and the people who loved her. At the other end stood the young officer, dressed neatly and waiting for her. Although he had faced many difficult moments in life with courage and discipline, he could not hide his emotions that morning. His eyes became slightly red as he watched Hao walk toward him. Perhaps at that moment, he remembered every difficult road they had traveled together, every tear they had wiped away, and every time they had encouraged each other not to give up. When Hao finally reached him, he gently took her hand. Neither of them needed to say much. Their eyes said everything. They had waited for this moment for a long time. The people around them applauded warmly, but for the couple, the world seemed to become wonderfully quiet. The young officer looked at Hao with a peaceful smile and squeezed her hand, as if promising that from this day forward, she would never have to walk alone again. Standing together in the middle of their beloved farm, surrounded by family, friends, trees, flowers, and the memories they had created, they were no longer simply two people in love. They were about to become a family. And in that simple countryside setting, their wedding became something far more precious than a grand celebration. It became a testament to enduring love, companionship, and the belief that after every difficult season, life can still bring us a beautiful new beginning. Part 2. vows that touched every heart. As the warm applause slowly faded, the wedding ceremony continued beneath the shade of the old trees. Hao and the young officer remained standing hand in hand, facing the people who had shared their journey and had come to witness this important moment. There was no grand stage, no expensive decorations, and no dazzling display of wealth. Instead, there was the peaceful beauty of the countryside, the gentle breeze moving through the leaves, and the sincere presence of the people they loved. For Hao and the young officer, that simplicity made the moment even more meaningful. They had learned through life that happiness was not measured by how much money could be spent on a wedding, but by how many people truly cared enough to stand beside you when the most important promises were made. The young officer looked at Hao for a long moment before speaking. His voice was calm at first, but everyone could hear the emotion hidden behind his words. He reminded her that their journey had never been perfect. There had been difficult days, moments of uncertainty, and times when both of them had wondered whether their dreams would ever come true. Yet through every hardship, Hao had remained beside him. She had given him strength when he felt tired, comfort when life became difficult, and a reason to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. He told her that he did not promise a life without problems, because no honest person could make such a promise. Instead, he promised something much more valuable. He promised that whenever storms came, he would face them with her. Whenever she was tired, he would be there to hold her hand. And whenever life gave them a reason to smile, he would treasure that happiness with her. Hao listened quietly, her eyes slowly filling with tears. For a woman who had experienced both happiness and hardship, those words meant more than any expensive gift ever could. She understood that true love was not simply about beautiful moments. It was about staying when things became difficult, forgiving when mistakes were made, and choosing each other again and again as the years passed. When it was her turn to speak, her voice trembled with emotion. She said that she did not need a perfect husband or a perfect life. She only wanted a man who would walk beside her honestly, respect her, and never make her feel alone. Looking at him, she promised to care for their home, cherish their family, and remain by his side through both peaceful days and difficult seasons. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The young officer gently placed the wedding ring on Hao and Appo's finger. His hands were slightly trembling, a small detail that made the moment even more touching. Hao then placed the ring on his finger, and for a few seconds, they simply looked at each other. Tears rolled down Hao and Appo's cheeks, while the young officer smiled through his own emotion. Their families applauded, and some guests quietly wiped away their tears. The embrace that followed was simple but powerful. He held Hao close, and she rested her head against his chest, finally feeling the peace she had longed for. Around them, the farm remained quiet and beautiful, as if nature itself were blessing their union. At that moment, everyone understood that this was not merely a wedding ceremony. It was the beginning of a promise to grow old together, to protect the warmth of their home, and to hold on to each other no matter how many seasons life might bring. Hashtag Part 3, a new beginning beneath the sunset. After the wedding vows and the exchange of rings, the atmosphere at the farm slowly became more relaxed. The emotional ceremony had brought tears to many eyes, but now warm smiles and gentle laughter filled the garden. Family members gathered around the couple, offering their blessings and sharing stories from the past. Some guests brought simple homemade dishes prepared especially for the occasion, while others helped arrange the tables beneath the trees. There was nothing extravagant about the celebration, yet there was a warmth that money could never buy. Hal looked around at the familiar farm and felt a deep sense of gratitude. This was the place where she and the young officer had experienced ordinary days together, days of hard work, quiet meals, unexpected difficulties, and small moments of happiness. And now, that same place had become the setting for one of the most important days of their lives. As the afternoon continued, everyone sat together for the wedding meal. The food was simple, but every dish carried a story. Family members laughed as they remembered the couple and Oppo's early days together, while close friends shared playful memories that made Hal smile shyly. The young officer occasionally looked at his wife, almost as if he still could not believe that the woman standing beside him was now officially his family. Whenever their eyes met, Hal smiled. There was a quiet tenderness between them that needed no explanation. After everything they had been through, they no longer needed grand promises to prove their love. Their presence beside each other was already enough. Later, when the celebration became quieter, Hal and her husband walked slowly through the farm together. The sunlight had begun to soften, painting the trees and fields in golden light. They stopped beside the small garden they had cared for together. Hal looked at the flowers and remembered how many mornings they had spent working there. The young officer gently took her hand and said that this was only the beginning. There would be many more mornings, many more harvests, perhaps children running through the garden one day, and countless ordinary evenings when they would sit together and talk about life. Hal smiled, resting her head gently on his shoulder. She knew that the future would not always be easy, but she also knew she would not have to face it alone. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the fields, the newly married couple stood quietly in front of their small home. Behind them were their family and friends, and around them was the peaceful farm that had become a symbol of their love. The young officer wrapped his arm around Hal, and she leaned closer to him. There was something deeply moving about that simple scene. They were not standing in front of a luxurious mansion or surrounded by wealth. They were standing before a humble home they could call their own, with the promise of building a life together one day at a time. For many people, a wedding is remembered for its flowers, music, beautiful clothes, and photographs. But for Hal and the young officer, this wedding would be remembered for something much deeper, the feeling of finally coming home to the person they loved. Their celebration at the farm was not just the end of their journey as two people. It was the beginning of a new chapter as husband and wife. And as the last light of the sunset faded across the countryside, they held each other and Oppo's hands and quietly looked toward tomorrow, knowing that whatever life brought them, they would face it together, with patience, loyalty, and a love strong enough to grow through every season of life.